So if you enjoyed this episode as well as other episodes, please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes because that will help it grow. Hey everyone, welcome to the Callback Comedy Podcast. My name is Joseph Vecsey. I'm a stand-up comedian out of New York City and just graduated film school. And each episode, I'll be interviewing well-established comics as well as famous comics, writers, and actors. So this is the first episode of the podcast, and it features Aziz Ansari. So you may know Aziz from Parks and Recreation, his Comedy Central specials, as well as the movies Funny People, where he played the memorable Randy, also the movie Observe and Report, 30 Minutes or Less, and many other things. Aziz was kind enough to talk to me for a little over 30 minutes, all about comedy and stuff going on in his career. He was very generous with his time, and I had an excellent time talking to him because I'm a big fan of his work. We did this interview in a hotel downtown, and it was a lot of fun. So let's get right into it. Here's me and Aziz Ansari.
All right, Aziz, thank you so much for doing this.
No problem, thanks.
We're already off to a professional start. We don't have another mic, so we're sharing it. When is your next one coming out, first of all?
I recorded one a few months ago from this tour I did called Dangerously Delicious, and that'll be out, I think, in January sometime when I put it out.
Okay, awesome. Now, we were just talking, when you first came here to New York, you were in college, but what did you do for a day job or money or before you started making, obviously, a living off stand-up?
When I was in college, I would just do, like, random jobs. Like, I worked at, like, NYU air conditioning. I did, like, the NYU phone-a-thon where you, like, call up the alumni for donations and stuff. Right. That was pretty awful. I just did that stuff, and then when I graduated, I was, just doing comedy.
What made you the first time you got on stage, and then how long did it take you to become consistently funny?
The first time I got on stage was the summer of my freshman year, a little over 10 years ago. And what made me do it was I was just hanging out with a group of people, and, I always enjoyed just telling stories and just, like, making people laugh in social situations, and then someone was like, hey, you should try to do stand-up, you should try to do, like, a new talent night. And that happened, like, a couple of times, and after it happened, like, the second time, I was like, oh, well, maybe I should try. Maybe that would be something fun. And, and then I just signed up for one of those new talent nights and did it, and I really enjoyed it, and I was like, oh, this is something I would like to get better at. As far as when did I get consistently funny, I don't know. I mean, I think when you start out, you're horrible for a couple of years, but I was always comfortable on stage, and I had that skill early on. I think, like, I was comfortable on stage, and, like, I knew what I was doing, but, the writing and stuff, I think, takes a while before it gets any good,
Right. But now, your first big break, as far as I know, is the Human Giant on MTV.
Yeah.
And you were making shorts with your friends before that and stuff. Mm-hmm. So how did you attract attention for MTV to get that? Because obviously that's a big deal to get a greenlit show like that. So how did that come about?
So around, I think it was 2005, I used to do this show at the UCB Theater called Crash Test, and that was like a weekly stand-up show. It was Mondays at 11. It was free. There's a new show there now called Whiplash. It's still kind of the same format, free show or whatever. But when I did it, I would have a different co-host each week, because then I wouldn't have to, like, just do the same jokes every week, and, or I wouldn't have to, like, write new stuff every week, because, I mean, it would be hard to, like, have new stuff that kills every week to host the show. So I would have, like, a different, like, improviser or sketch person with me, and we would just do different bits each week. So one week we would do a bit where, like, we were the guys that work at the Apple store, and we were doing, like, a special seminar or whatever, and then whatever. Right. And the first week I did it, it was with this guy, Rob Hubel, who was this, like, improviser I thought was hilarious. And the second week I did it with Paul Scheer, who was another guy I thought was just, like, so funny. And we had a really good time, like, working together. And then me and Rob, the bit that we did the first week was this thing called Shutterbugs, where we were these child talent agents. Okay. And we just thought it was a fun bit, so we decided to, like, shoot it as a short. And we shot it, and then, like, we would just screen it, like, whenever we were doing shows, and people just started seeing it. It was less like, it was less like, and then it got, like, 1 million views on YouTube, and then MTV knocked on our door. It didn't really get that many views. It was mainly just, like, showing it around live venues in New York. And also, by that point, like, I started getting a couple of things, like, I won this, like, comedy festival in Aspen, the Aspen Comedy Festival, so that combined with just general, like, I had started just doing a lot of shows in New York, and people became aware of me. And then we had this, and those guys too, Rob and Paul, were also, like, people knew, they were like, oh, these guys are really funny, like, somebody needs to do something with these guys.
Right.
So all of us, what we were doing live combined with just having that thing to show to people, like, oh, whenever you met with people, you could be like, hey, and this is like some short films I did, you know?
Right.
And so, yeah, that eventually MTV was like, we really like these and we want to develop it into a show. And they, like, we never pitched it to them or anything. They were just like, we want you guys to make a pilot. And then we did it, and then, didn't really think it would get picked up because it was MTV, and that wasn't really the kind of stuff they had on the channel. But we were lucky enough to get it picked up and do 2 seasons. I mean, I really took that for granted that we got a second season, because, I mean, there's so many, like, really good shows I've seen that, they don't always get a second season. And it was really the people at MTV were really nice to, like, stand behind us and give us a second season. They wanted us to do a third one, too, but at that point we wanted to kind of move on. To
Right. Are you still, like, surprised, though, at the position you're in now? Like, is it even still shocking to you? Like, just because of where you are in your career? Not that obviously you're talented and you made, but is it still surprising? Because obviously there's so many comics and there's so many people, it's hard to stand out from everyone. Is it still like, is it still amazing for you, or is it kind of like, all right, this is a job now?
I mean, I don't really think about that stuff. I mean, you see me, I'm at the comedy scene all the time. I'm just, like, working on new jokes and, like, doing that, and then, I just try to do a good job with all these things and hope it doesn't go away, The one time I had, like, a moment like that, I think, was the only time I really had, like, a thing where I was like, wow, was, I mean, definitely I'm, like, if you get to do, like, a theater tour or something, like, it's really, really cool, but, I never, like, sit down and really think about it, but, this year I did Carnegie Hall in January, and, like, that was pretty crazy, because it's, like, the most beautiful venue, and it's in New York, where I started, so it was like, wow, like, I used to do comedy in New York for, like, 4 people at, like, a dumpy bar, and now I'm in the most prestigious venue. Like, it definitely, like, felt like, oh, wow, I'm really, like, glad that I was able to do this.
But when you were coming up, how do you know, because I'm a young comic, and I've been doing it for 2 years now, how do you know which advice to take and which advice not to take? Like, how do you know you're not being just stubborn with your ways, or you're saying to yourself, okay, this is really different from everyone, they're just not getting it? When other comics might tell you, oh, can't do that, it's a little too edgy, or that's too much. I mean, you have some edgy bits, I would say, that are awesome, but maybe if you were unknown, they would be like, oh, we don't want to, have that at this club or something like that.
I don't know. I've never heard of anyone saying, like, oh, that guy's like, that guy, like, I mean, because if they did, the guy would go around like, yeah, I don't do stand-up New York, man. They said I was too dangerous. Here's the only piece of advice I think is worth taking. If you're killing, you'll be fine. Like, if you just focus on, like, killing, you'll be fine. Like, let's say you did that comic strip audition, and you heard that, you're like, whatever. If you just went up there and killed and, like, crushed for like 5 minutes, they're not going to be like, well, you totally destroyed the audience and everyone loved your set, but no, they're going to be like, that guy killed, yeah, he's passed.
Okay.
So that like, if you're always killing, like even me now, it's like, stand-up is the only thing I can always have. Like Parks and Rec, like, who knows if that gets canceled or something, like, I'll always have stand-up because I do it all the time, and I'm working on new material, so I can always go tour. And no one can be like, hey, man, that guy sucked. It's like, no, I know these jokes work. Like, that's the thing about stand-up, is it's kind of undeniable. It doesn't really matter who you are or anything, It's just the audience is your barometer. And, yeah, I'm, like, known now or whatever, but that only takes you for, like, a minute or two. Then people are like, is it funny? Because, I mean, I do new jokes that don't work sometimes. And, I've seen Chris Rock, Louis C.K., all these people bomb at the Cellar. And that's what's kind of cool about stand-up. It's fair. Like, I saw Louis the other day, and like he just recorded a special, and I'd watched the special with him, like, and he was like, yeah, I'm gonna, now I'm back to being an open micer, because all this stuff's retired, and that's really how it is. Like, I started writing new stuff like in March, and like now I have like a few like strong bits to like anchor a set or whatever, but. Yeah, when you start up again after you record a special, you really are in the same boat as someone starting for the first time. You're just, you're just more experienced, but in a way, you are just an open micer again.
But let me ask you this: they always say, or I was always told, never blame the audience if it's not, if something's not working. But I've seen comics, or sometimes I've had sets. You do a joke 30 times, 30 shows, and worked on the 31st show. Crowd's not really into it. And if you ever experienced something like that where the audience is for some reason not feeling something that they felt 10 times in a row at another show?
Yeah, every now and then there's an anomaly where it's like, what? Like, that works everywhere, but usually, like, you just put that out of your head. if you do something and it doesn't work 5 times, then
Right.
maybe it's like maybe this is not a bit that like kills everywhere, you know. But yeah, I mean, there's always anomalies. I mean, who knows? There could have been a comic before you that did something similar. You know, there could be like, someone told me like a story once where like they did some joke that always kills about stabbing or something, and then they like it didn't like anything, and like people were really weird, and it's like, oh yeah, someone got stabbed on campus yesterday. It's like, oh, okay, that's why that didn't work.
Right, exactly.
Also, bummer that person got stabbed.
Right, exactly. Okay. So now I wanted to also talk about. I thought Randy is one of the most fantastic characters ever.
Thank you.
You know, like I know he's supposed to be like a technically like as Judd Apatow's described, like as a bad comedian, but at the same time, I feel like if he was aware of what he was doing, he's actually pretty cool and amazing comedian. I'd want to see like. So I just wondered. I know it wasn't as big as character as it was supposed to be in the thing. And how did it go about that you were able to write the character and make it bigger and do the documentary and all that stuff?
Yeah, in the script there wasn't much for that character, and there wasn't many scenes or anything. But when I sat down with Judd, he was like, "Okay, so the idea I have for this guy is, you know, he was just supposed to be the guy that takes Seth Rogen's place for a little while, as far as like working with Adam Sandler's character, and he wanted him to be just kind of like a villain in a way." And he was like, I thought he would like, this guy would be like really into the merch and like just like really into just like the money and all that stuff. And then I kind of took that and ran with it. And then I just thought about like, you know, starting off like comedy clubs. Like I used to do the comic strip a lot, and you know, starting off, I remember there would always be comedians that would just kill. The audiences loved that the comics hated. They would be like, what, fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger again, man, really? Like, you know, just going for, like, this, the bottom of the barrel, you know, I don't think I'm using that phrase right, but, you know, just like the lowest common denominator stuff that everyone would enjoy. So I was like, well, what if a guy just, like, took that to extremes? And then we shot this scene where it's not even in the movie, but it was me and Adam Sandler, and I'm just like, it was just improvised stuff, like just talking to him about, like, what I planned for my next tour, and I said like,
I saw that deleted scene.
Yeah, it's a deleted scene.
Like
Yes. I said the DJ and like pyrotechnics and like a dance and all that stuff, and so like after that scene, I was like, wow, like that would be pretty funny to like do a character that actually did, if we did stuff where he did actually have that stuff. And so I talked to Judd and I was like, what if we shot, because he really liked Randy, like him and Seth, like whenever they shot stand-up scenes, we would always do a Randy set, and like they really got into it, especially once I started like writing the material for Randy specifically. And so I was like, what if we do like the documentary, it could be on the DVD, we'd put it online, whatever. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. And so we shot it, like Judd paid for it himself, and it was really fun, and it was really cool to work with him on that. But yeah, as far as him being a bad comedian, yeah, he is bad, but those jokes are good jokes. They're like well-written jokes.
Right,
like, yeah, because you can't like that joke about the hot tub or whatever. Like that joke does kill. Like you can't coast on the charm of that character for that long, you know.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like I love that joke so much, and I love all, you know, I'm taking a huge shit, like I'm doing the spinning, and you got the smoke coming. Like with a comedian with a DJ, I'd want to see that. Like I feel like it would be awesome to watch.
Yeah, some of that stuff is pretty funny to me. You know, I love Cat Williams. I think he's hilarious. Like, there's some like really hilarious Cat Williams stuff. I think Randy's just like kind of like a guy that saw Cat Williams once and was like, "Oh, I'll do that." But it's like, no, it's a little bit harder than that. But you know, for the purposes of the character, I had to like give it well-written jokes, or else it wouldn't sustain like as a stand-up character.
Because I think you're right. Because some people do, I think, sleep on the jokes a little bit. Because like even the blowjob joke, like I feel like it's so it's so dumb in a way, and I mean that as a compliment, but like when you're saying like, oh, getting a blowjob in IKEA, and there's no even like, oh, where's the like it's, you know, like I just think
like that one is the dumbest one of all of them. Like that one's the dumbest one. But then that one, you know, it's short and you can only do it so many times, and it's just like aggressively dumb. But
I could hear it 100 times.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
All right. So my next question is, what was your work ethic like when you were coming up, and what is your work ethic like now? Like how often do you write a day, stand-up, scripts, everything, even the business side of it? I'm just curious to know how it's changed from when you were on the come up to now.
When I was coming up, I mean, I would just try to do stand-up whenever I could, and I was always just, I would just always try to constantly just come up with new bits that just killed, you know, and just tighten up bits. Like, for me, a lot of it is refining, you know, like just doing a joke and changing things to make them work better to the point where they're like ending on like applause breaks and it's getting the level of response that I needed to get to be in a set, you know. And now I probably do, when I'm in New York and just working on stand-up, I probably do more stand-up because, you know, I can get up more because, you know, from the TV stuff and everything, which is like kind of the, you know, I was talking to Louis about this too, like, you know, all the stuff from you get from like doing TV or whatever, like nothing beats like just being able to go do stand-up whenever you want. That is like kind of the coolest thing. So I take full advantage of it, and I do stand-up whenever I can. I do spots all the time, and you know, my process. I mean, you see me at the Cellar. I'll do my writing and stuff. I mostly do it at the comedy club or like. Do you need to stop for a second?
No, I'm
right?
sorry. I was just making sure it was on.
My process. I mainly just write when I'm at the club. Like I'll go like an hour early and just like kind of go through my notebook, and I always record all my sets. And I listen to it in case there's stuff I improvise. Like I try to be loose with it. So if I come up with something that I like, I'll try to add it back. I've been trying to like integrate. I try to use crowd work to help me write sometimes. Like I've been writing material about online dating, so I like talk to people about their experiences with that, and sometimes that helps me with the writing. So that's why it's good to record and like listen to it, and then like yeah, I'll just keep doing shows. Like the best is like on like a weekend when you can do like 3 sets a night or more. You can start with something on the first show that you think is okay,
right.
And then by the 3rd show it might be something pretty good.
How long do you think it takes you from writing it, the actual idea, to getting it where it's ready for a special or a tour?
It really depends on the bits. Some bits, like, they come out right away, and it's like, boom, it's great. Other bits, it takes longer. There's like 2 new chunks that I developed over the past 2 weeks just doing shows at the Cellar that I think by now I feel pretty strong about them. I would take it on tour. But other times, you know, there's bits, like there's that bit on my first special about sheets, about buying sheets with a high thread count, and the company was lying about the thread count. Yeah.
So I'm looking around trying to find some nice sheets. I see this brand called Hotel Luxury Linens, 600 thread count, and it sounds fancy too, right? You got a girl back at your place, she's like, oh my God. Did we just teleport to a 5-star hotel? Nah, baby, these are just Hotel Luxury Linens. By the way, the technology for teleportation doesn't exist yet. You must be kind of stupid. So I grab the sheets and I get them home, and I'm psyched to put them on my bed, right? And I feel them, and they feel a little rough to the touch. I get a little suspicious. I do a little Googling. I find an investigative report in Southern Living magazine where they investigated thread count claims, an issue that definitely needed delving into. And they had a little chart. I said, brand, advertised thread count, actual thread count. So it's like, brand, warm suitor, advertised 500, actual 497. Brand, soft sheets, advertised 600, actual 600. Brand, Hotel Luxury Linens, advertised 600, actual 296. Are you shitting me, man? Almost slept on that shit. 296 is sandpaper as far as I'm concerned. If that was a drug deal, I would have shot Hotel Luxury Linens in the face. Where the rest of my thread? You didn't think I was gonna count that shit, motherfucker?
And the whole bit is just like this mock anger about like, oh, I'm so angry about the sheets. And I had that joke for a while, and like I was like getting ready for a tour, and I was on the verge of like throwing it away because I couldn't figure out how to end it. And then I came up with that ending bit, which was like about it was just one show. I just like improvised that ending. There's an ending bit about like so the bit is that I bought the drug dealer part. So the bit is that there's 600 thread count is what's advertised, but it's actually 296. And so I was like 296, like. And then I was like, what is it? It's like, if that was a drug deal, yeah, if that was a drug deal, I would have shot Hotel Linens in the face. And that got a huge laugh. And so that bit, the only reason that bit works is because that drug deal, I mean, the only reason you can put that in a special is because you have that drug deal bit at the end that makes it a big laugh and like really ends it on a big note. Without that part, it's just like a couple of like laughs that are like sevens, you know,
right.
But that one is enough to make it like a big bit in the special. And yeah, you know, that became one of the most passed around bits from the special. But, you know, I had it for like a year, and I just couldn't figure it out. And then I just did it that one night and figured it out. I was like, boom, that's great.
Yeah.
That's why I'm always like, like, don't completely throw away an idea, because there's always that joke in particular, I always think about that. Like, there's always that one thing you can add that might make it, you know, one of your classic bits or best bits.
Well, it was sometimes your mind almost works sharper, though, on stage sometimes, right? Or right before a show, it's like your mind can kind of think of something or a great ending like that.
Yes. You know what's great? It's like, sometimes at the cellar, like, you know, the cellar is an interesting place to work on this stuff, because everyone there is killing. And they have, like, amazing comedians that are just killing. So if you're working on new stuff, like, you better, like, it kind of forces you to, like, step your game up, because these people just saw people kill, so who cares if they saw me on TV or whatever? Like, my joke better be, like, on the level. So when stuff starts starting to falter, like, you panic, and your mind, like, works faster, because you don't want to fucking let yourself down. So it's you're right, like, it's kind of interesting. You can force your mind to just kind of pull something out. Sometimes every now and then I'll just, like, have, like, a thing that I don't have anything for, and I'll just say it just with the hope that, like, in the moment my brain will just, like, pull it together to, like, make something out of it. And that happens sometimes.
Right. Now, I'm just going to ask you, what, for someone like me, like, I just did a short film called The Responsible Rapist, okay? And now, I know you said it doesn't matter as long as it's funny, and it is funny, it gets good laughs, but people are very reluctant sometimes to see it and to do stuff. And I feel like, even if I don't know if you agree, but even when you do start to have more of a name, people will be more open to stuff, like the way Danny McBride does Eastbound and Down. You know, maybe if he was just unknown pitching that script, they might be like, oh my God, this is a little too much. Maybe not HBO, but I don't know. Something like that. What is, you think, your best advice to getting edgy work seen when you're an unknown?
I don't know. I mean, I think with that kind of stuff, I think it's good to do, like, with stand-up, I heard some quote from, like, it's like a Bill Hicks quote of something that's like, the quote goes something like, it's something he told, like, Patton Oswalt or something, and it was like Patton opened up with, like, some really, like, aggressive bit, and then he said something like, oh, you need to walk him to the edge, you know? So when I'm working on something that's a little bit darker, I'll couch it later in the set, so they're already on board a little bit. Like, if you start with something that, you're like in someone's face with something like rape, people are like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But if you've done something else to, like, get them on board, then they might be more likely. So I would say, like, if you have other videos and then you have that one as well, then maybe people are, like, less jarred by it, you know?
Now, I feel like you, like in Jonah Hill and like Danny McBride, I don't know why I picked those guys, and Seth, like, all kind of have a similar sensibilities of humor. And that are you guys ever going to do something together or write? I feel like you guys all could write together. I don't know why, but you, Jonah Hill, you guys just all seem like similar humor, basically. I don't know why I say that, but I feel like it just with some of the stuff in your stand-up and, you know, stuff in Eastbound and Down. You were in Observe and Report, which is awesome. And so you guys write together. Are you interested in working with those guys? And am I right for inferring that you guys, like, kind of have similar sensibilities?
Yeah, we're all fans of each other's work and friends, like, socially, and yeah, we're definitely, I'm developing projects with those guys. With Danny, I have the script I'm working on, and then, you know, there's some stuff I've talked to some of those other guys about, but all stuff in the very early stages of development and stuff. The movie stuff is, like, that's why I love stand-up. Stand-up is kind of the best thing, because, you know, you come to New York, I came to New York like 2 weeks ago, and you just did a bunch of sets, and then I have, like, 2 new bits that I could do on a special, on a tour, on a talk show, anything. It's done, and I can change it and whatever. Movie development takes forever. Like, you know, I talked about some movies I was working on in some interviews, and then, like, a few months later, people are like, hey, so you talked about that movie, like, when is that coming out? It's like, movies take for years, like Bridesmaids, like 5 years, like Pineapple Express, 7 years. It's so slow, it takes forever. So it's kind of a frustrating part of the of movies, that it's just so slow.
Well, how's The Rain, do you think, come up? I know that was a script, right?
Well, that was part of, like, a 3-pitch deal we did with Apple Tower. He brought 3 ideas from us, and we didn't work on that one yet. We worked on this other one that we wanted to do first, so we're mainly just working on that one, so we haven't even done anything on The Rain, thing.
Well, just as a fan, that Observe and Report scene with Seth Rogen was like one of the most memorable scenes.
Oh.
It's one of my favorite movies too.
Oh, great, thanks.
Like, what was that scripted? How many takes? That whole, you know, F you back and forth. Like, how long? I'm just curious how that whole scene was and how long it took you and what was in the script, what wasn't.
A lot of that was improvised. Some was in the script, a lot was improvised, and a lot of it was like the fuck you thing was Jody Hill's idea. He was the director, Jody Hill, and he like pitched it to me and Seth. He's like, "Why don't you guys just like keep saying like fuck you back and forth?" And then Aziz, the last one, like you like whisper it to where you can like barely hear it at all. And then like I made up some of the stuff like the Chick-fil-A line and like some other line. That was some stuff I'd actually done in the audition, I think, and I just did it again. But that was really fun because you know, Jody and Seth both are just like super sharp guys that have just like great joke ideas and stuff, and so yeah, that was a fun scene to do.
I recently moved to Los Angeles, and you know, a big issue here and everywhere in the country right now is gay rights. And I was walking down the street once, and this guy came up to me with a clipboard, and he goes, "Hey man, do you have a moment for gay rights?" And I went, "Sorry man, I'm in a little bit of a rush." And then that dude watched me walk into a Jamba Juice. And he was a little upset. He's like, "Really, man? You're in a rush to get to Jamba Juice? I'm out here trying to make a difference." And I was like, "Well, actually, man, there's a guy that works in that Jamba Juice that said some really hateful stuff about a close gay friend of mine. And I'm going in there to stab him." And then I pulled out 2 knives and I tossed him one. I was like, "Do you have a moment for gay rights?" "Oh, didn't think so. So sit there with your little clipboard and judge me. I kill for gay people. I make a difference. You don't do shit."
I just was curious. One of my favorite bits of yours is the Cold Stone Creamery,
Sure.
and also the gay rights bit. I just think it'd be interesting to hear like the evolution of how that those 2 jokes started. I'm sure you got it from real life, obviously Cold Stone Creamery, but like just kind of have your process, just hearing it from someone who did it special and bits that killed.
Okay, so the gay rights joke. I was walking down in New York in the East Village on like 3rd Avenue and something, and that just happened to me. This woman did what happens to the bit. She said like, "Do you have a moment for gay rights?" And I was like, "Sorry, I'm in a rush." And then she saw me walk into a framing store, and I was like, "Oh, that's funny." And so she's like, "Watch me walk in there." So I started with that premise. So I had that, and then I was like, then I came up with the idea of like, the idea being like, oh, well, it could be funny if I say the reason I'm going into the framing store is for like a super pro-gay reason that's, you know, an extreme comedically. So that would be like, oh, I'm gonna go in there because there's a guy that said hateful things to a close gay friend of mine, and I'm gonna stab him. And so I did that, and then I changed it to Jamba Juice at some point because just something about Jamba Juice was funnier than Framing Store. I think there, you know, it just took a couple of stabs, but it took a couple of different versions, like I remember like a really early version. When I was doing Framing Store, I was like, oh, like that's the gayest thing I could have been doing is going to a framing store. And then, like that, I was like, oh, that's not good. And then I can't remember other ones. It'd be interesting here. I probably have it on recorded somewhere. But yeah, eventually after a few months, I landed on that version of like stabbing, and then I added that tag of like, and then I pulled out 2 knives and I tossed them one. And I said, "Do you have a moment for gay rights?" And then it just was like, oh, that's like a killer opening for the special.
I went to a place recently I think is one of the most fucked up places I've ever been to. I'm convinced this place is the epitome of American excess, of American greed. I'm talking about a place called Cold Stone Creamery. Whoa. If you have not been there, the basic gist of Cold Stone is that they take ice cream and then they just go ape shit with it. There's like slamming brownies and gummy bears and just hammering it in there. Whatever fat people want in there. Snickers bar, cheeseburger. Let me fuck a Butterfinger into it for you. Just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Jesus. This is way too intense for me. Is that guy's dick a Butterfinger? What just happened? Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I think I'll just have a small cup of vanilla if that's okay. This is just too intense for me. Lady behind the counter's like, no, 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 you should try one of our creations, like birthday cake remix, where we take cake batter ice cream, yellow cake, fudge chunks, sprinkles. It's like, that just sounds too intense for me. I'll just have a small cup of vanilla. She goes, quit being a bitch. Whoa. And then I couldn't even get a small, because their sizes are actually like it, love it, and gotta have it. What kind of crackhead terminology is that? Hey, what size you want, man? I don't know, man. I just gotta have it. Put some ice cream in a cup. I'm tweaking. And, I felt bad for people that had to work there, man. So I was like, I'm gonna drop a couple of dollars in the tip jar on my way out. Whoa, that's when all hell broke loose. Because apparently, whenever they get even $1 in the tip jar, all 5 employees are required to bump out into a song and dance number where they take current popular music and shove Cold Stone lingo into it as if there's some retarded second cousin to Weird Al that's obsessed with ice cream. And it's ridiculous. 5 people are singing and dancing for $1. That's 20 cents a person. If you saw a homeless dude outside of Cold Stone, you're like, hey man, I'll give you 20 cents to sing some songs about Cold Stone. You go, hey man, go fuck yourself. That's degrading.
The Cold Stone bit, that one's pretty old, and I just put it on the special just to have it on there. But that one came about, I was in Seattle, I was doing this festival called Bumbershoot, and I just went to Cold Stone, and that was just like my reaction. I was just like, wow, this is insane. Like, they were just like doing the shit and like doing the songs. Like, that was one of those bits that came together quicker because it was just like so crazy, and it was just easy just to channel my real. Whenever you're on stage and you're like able to like really channel a genuine emotion about things, like in that Sheets bit, like I really am channeling anger about that. Cold something, I really am channeling like, this is fucking crazy, So that one, it was really easy to just like go off the emotion, and like the jokes really just kind of hit, and like it was just like, it just seemed like a premise like people got on board with right away. If anybody had been there, just like realized it was like crazy and could relate to it, and it came together pretty quick.
Right.
And it was just like, let's see, I'm trying to think. It was what was the bit I do about the song? It's like
you gave
singing songs, you give it $1. Oh yeah, the homeless guy. Yeah, like that all came together pretty quick. I think that even like kind of came together at that Bumbershoot festival. Which is a festival in Seattle. You do like a bunch of shows. So yeah, that's how those.
But I'm always into like subtle stuff, and this might be a stupid and weird question.
No.
But like, do you even know yourself, like, when you say stuff like in that bit? I just remember this. Me and my friends like do it all the time. When you would be like, whoa, that's way too intense for me. Like, do you even know that's funny, like yourself? Because it's you. But just the way you're saying it, like with whoa, not everyone can make whoa funny, but that's just something we picked up on and stuff. But do you realize that?
What part of that
is
that?
They say, quit being a bitch, and you're like, whoa, that's way too intense. But I don't know if you even know your own voice. I was just curious to know if you know certain things, like subtle things that you do that are funny like that.
Yeah, I mean, in certain stand-up bits, you're kind of playing a character and you're doing kind of a scene. So like, if you commit to those characters, like. If you go like, and the lady's like, and the lady goes, quit being a bitch, that you're not gonna get as much left. The lady goes, quit being a bitch, like if you're like the character a little bit.
Right.
So that's why, I know what I'm, it's a better delivery, like, and it's better to like be a character rather than just like monotone or something. You know what I mean?
Right, of course.
Yeah. But for me, like, I always want to make sure the writing is so strong that it doesn't matter, like. You want to be able to like read something typed out and still laugh at it. Maybe there can be moments that are get bigger laughs because of delivery, but overall you want the thing to sail regardless of delivery. So I always try to make sure that that's the case. Even the Randy stuff, like, there are funny jokes in there, like they're written out.
Yeah.
Structurally, they're good jokes. They're just about dumb things. But yeah, so I would say like, it's something one trick I do is like. I will just say certain jokes. If I think a joke is like just working on delivery and I'm just selling it with my charm or enthusiasm, I'll just like do it like kind of low key at the cellar or something and see if it still works. And if it doesn't, then I'll just throw it away because unless it's something I really like, it's not really worth it. Before I did my last special, like I did a set where I just like really just took out, like before the last special, I just did a set where I just like took out all the bells and whistles, and I was just like leaned up against the wall. Like the other day, even I was doing this bit at the cellar, where I was like, where I like have to like sing a song, and like I just did it leaned up against the wall without like moving around at all, just to make sure it still works. But yeah, I always try to like challenge myself to like make sure that stuff still works. So when I did the last special, I did a set where I just kind of, forced myself to just really be way more low key about everything, just to make sure the writing held up. And it's interesting. It's interesting to see what happens when you like change your delivery like that. Some jokes work better because like I slowed down a little bit and like people could hear everything. I've been doing stuff at the Cellar recently where like I'll go on stage with like I went on stage. I was kind of sick and I had a cough drop in my mouth once. And it weirdly was interesting because it made me like change my delivery and stuff, and I found like new things that way. I wouldn't recommend doing that though, but if you're doing so many sets,
right,
then maybe one time try that, but don't do that.
Okay. Well, I feel like I can't compare you to another comedian, and I know that's a good thing. But so, who are your influences? I can't, even Eddie Murphy, okay, Richard Pryor, all these people even the greatest people you compare to other people. But like, I don't know who I could think of that you're remotely like, so I'm wondering what your influences of comedians have been.
Really, I mean, I would say like I'm pretty similar to like Louis or Patton. Like I'm just really just talking about whatever's going on in my life, and it's not very not really pop culture related or anything. So yeah, I mean, I would compare myself to those guys. Who else? As far as maybe my delivery and just like the energy, maybe there's someone like Chappelle. Like I feel like he's pretty animated and stuff and does characters and his bits. I mean, he's definitely someone I would consider an influence. Eddie Murphy's a big influence. I mean, Delirious I watched that as a kid. Chris Rock's a big influence. I mean, Chris Rock, his first two specials, like that was my biggest thing when I was a kid. Those are like the defining stand-up specials. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Aziz, I really appreciate you doing the interview.
Of course.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
So that's this week's episode. Special thanks to my guest, Aziz Ansari. Had a great time talking with him. Please rate and review and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. It will really help it get to the main page so more people can see it. It's just very important. So if you enjoy this episode as well as others, it will help out a lot. You've been listening to the Callback Comedy Podcast. My name is Joseph Vecsey. Thanks for listening.